it is a big crowd. I'm Pam V, and I'm an alcoholic. And my sobriety date is July 1st, 2000. And I'm also a member of the Primary Purpose Group, but we are in Wilson, which is 2 hours away. Wallace, thank you for asking me to be here. I was taught and actually brought up in AA through sponsorship that when you're asked to do something, if I can possibly do it, that I should. Alcoholics Anonymous has saved my life. You'll hear what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today. And what I could tell you is I'm absolutely not the same woman that walked through these doors 19 years ago. I've come a long way. And that is by the grace of God. A sponsor, because you'll hear how I was in AA and didn't use a sponsor. You absolutely need a sponsor. She was a big part of my life. A home group, absolutely need a home group. And I could talk about sponsor and home group like crazy. There are two things that I absolutely love in AA. And I've had experience without both of them in Alcoholics Anonymous. And you'll hear about that, doing it my way. And I didn't change. And of course, the biggest change are the steps. And not just reading them, you know how we look at them, read them, but it's about actually practicing them. And have somebody take you through the book, which has been my experience, and little by little, it changes your life. So if anybody's new, you can change, you could have a new life. It won't happen tomorrow, but it'll happen. I used to go into the churches, and you know, like you go to a church and you're crying and you want to change and become a new person, and you think in that hour, maybe they throw a little bit of holy water on you or say a prayer or lay hands, and you really want to change. You have a desire to be a new person. For me, it was a new woman. And for that hour, I felt really good. And maybe going home, I felt pretty good about it. But then the next day, I woke up and I was still me. And I was still behaving the way I did before I showed up in church. So for me, it's the 12 steps, sponsorship, and home group have taught me how to live and to be and to have, do the right thing. My sponsor would always say to me, no matter how you feel, do the right thing. I lived on how I felt all the time. I did what I felt like doing. If I was in a bad mood, I'd be mad. If I was happy, I'd be all giddy and happy. And that's how I drank. I was a Sybil drinker. Depending what my mood was like, that's how I was. But I was taught to do it anyway. Even if you don't feel like it's hard. It was hard coming here 2 hours, and it's been a hectic week. And then I had a dentist appointment. You know how that is at the dentist. It's so grueling. Stuff at work complicated, and my sponsee picked me up. She was on time, and she said, "Let's go. We're going." So here we are, and I appreciate that. So my home group, a little bit about my home group, we meet on Monday and Thursday. We're a 7 o'clock meeting. Actually, it's a speaker meeting tonight. And Monday night, we have the first and third Mondays, a big book study. We read out of the big book. The second Monday, we just started doing this past year, is the step out of the 12 and 12, which has been really exciting to be back in that book. So whatever month it is, we'll do the step on that. The fourth Monday is a tradition, so we use a 12 and 12, whatever tradition it is, we go over that tradition. And if there's a fifth Monday, we do history. And then every Thursday is a speaker meeting, and that's our only open meeting. And we also have babysitting. We hire somebody from the church, which has been really wonderful, so anybody with kids doesn't have to miss a meeting. So it's been, and sometimes she'll have like 1 to 8 to 10 kids. And she's been with us for as long as we've been there, a long time. So I absolutely love my home group. I was born and raised in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, if anybody is familiar with Pennsylvania, by Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. I see somebody nodding his head. Very cold in the mountains. My grandfather was a coal miner. And then when he quit being a coal miner, he opened a bar. And it was called Val's Bar. And I'm Polish, so it was a big Polish bar. And everybody in my family, except my mom and my aunt, drank. And I grew up, before I could walk, I was crawling in a bar. So I know all about the bar life. And I grew up believing that everybody drank. I thought everybody drank, everybody smoked, everybody cursed, everybody gambled, everybody lied. But that's the atmosphere I grew up in. And, I had parents who loved me. I was one of 5 children. But I also grew up in a lot of chaos. Big family. And not only me and my brothers and my sister, but it was my aunt, my uncle, my cousins were over. It was a huge family. So almost imagine like the Brady Bunch. But it wasn't. It was more like the Munsters. Really crazy. So it was a really big family. And what I saw from drinking, I saw a lot of fun. I couldn't wait to drink as a young girl. But I also saw and experienced a lot of abuse. I've experienced seeing as a child, me and my sister, my father coming home. He was a civil drinker too. You never knew how he was going to come home. Sometimes he was really happy. Sometimes he was mad. We didn't know how he was going to come home from drinking or how late he was getting in. And we've already seen an argument between him and my mom that she ended up in the hospital for 3 days. So it was pretty bad. But I was taught, let's not talk about it. My grandmother came over. She spent almost a week with us while my mom was in the hospital, and nobody talked about it. So any bad stuff was sort of hidden underneath the rug. Let's not talk about it. Let's just talk about the good times. I graduated high school in 1980. I didn't like school. My first drink, I was 14 years old, and I'll tell you a little bit about before my first drink of how I was like. I was a very chubby, loud kid. As you can see, I don't need a microphone. I'm pretty loud now, but I lost weight since then. But I was a real chubby kid, and I liked to eat. I was real loud. I had a big mouth, and I didn't have good grades, only because I hated school, and I didn't like to study. Here I had a sister older than me. She was blonde, thin, like a ballerina, and really, really pretty, and made great grades. Well, she exercised. She played tennis. She studied, so she did all the right stuff. I would have 2 or 3 bowls of cereal, the second helping of mashed potatoes. God, how come I'm not thin? Oh, give me another bowl of mashed potatoes here and shove it in my mouth. I didn't like to exercise. I didn't want to exercise. So she worked harder for what she had and studying in school, and I didn't. I always looked for the easier, softer way. And she was real popular, and I wasn't. So I had a resentment against God as a child. I thought, it's not fair. I'm in this body, and she gets that body, and that's not fair. But I couldn't wait to drink. 14 years old, you had to be 21 to drink in Pennsylvania, and me and my cousin Ronnie were planning to get drunk, and we had somebody get us alcohol. So he bought us a gallon of blackberry brandy. I don't know why, but it was blackberry brandy, I know, right? We hid it in the woods. I was so excited. Like when we're drinking, all we can think about is a drink? Before I even drank, I thought all day about that alcohol. Oh, I can't wait. And then I was worried. I worried about it because I thought, I hope a hunter doesn't find it. Did we hide it good enough in the woods, So I got home from school. We just took 2 cups. We had no ice. We met in the woods, and we started drinking this blackberry brandy. And here's what happened. I lost 20 pounds. It was great. I became extremely popular. I liked who I was. All that fear and anxiety I had about myself, as I kept drinking, and I just felt, I felt pretty, I felt thin, I felt popular, I felt I could get a boyfriend, I could do anything, I could be anybody. My cousin, on the other hand, had his own issues, and he kept flexing his muscles. I didn't see any, I really couldn't see them, but we were toasting to them. He'd say, I'm strong. I guess, he had an inferiority complex about it. I said, you are. Let's toast to your muscles. We had a lot of fun. I don't remember how I got home. I blacked out. I was a blackout drinker right away. We walked home. I passed out. And the next morning I woke up, and back then there was no Velcro. But I was stuck to the pillow. And my face peeled off the pillow, and what it was, I threw up. And I slept in my own vomit. And I couldn't wait to do it again. I never drank blackberry brandy after that, but I was excited about drinking. I didn't get in any trouble. I drank when I could. I absolutely loved the way it made me feel. I graduated in 1980, and then I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana. And there you could be 18 years old and drink, and you can go into the bars. And I couldn't wait to get into the bar rooms. And I loved it. I loved the music. It was the disco back then, the spinning disco ball. And it was the tinkling of the ice in the glass, just everything. I was so excited about drinking. I lived there about a year. I had a job. I drank. I had a lot of fun. And then I got a phone call from my father. Like I said, my sister, and then I have 3 brothers, and everybody drinks except my mom and my aunt. And what my mom was, and I didn't know this until I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, she was an enabler. And what that is when somebody's drinking, what they do is they clean up the mess so the person can continue to drink. They don't use that tough love. They don't know. They just keep cleaning the mess up. And that's what my mom did for my dad and all of us kids as we got drunk. And my aunt was the same way. And I got a phone call from my dad, and he said, you need to come home, take a flight out. Your sister went to a party. 4 o'clock in the morning, she left the party drinking and driving, and she hit a tree head on, and she was killed in a car accident. And I can remember being really devastated and really angry at God. I blame God. How dare he take my sister away from me? And here's what we did. I got home, and the family, we drank. We didn't know any better. That's what we do. We drank at the viewing. We drank at the funeral. We blamed the guy who had the party. Why didn't he take her keys? It's his fault that she died, And I see through the years of my alcoholism, I blamed everybody except for, the truth, alcohol. Alcohol is powerful, cunning, and baffling. And all I wanted to do was blame other people instead of blaming alcohol and myself for drinking. And that's what we did then. I went back to New Orleans for a while, lived there. I lived in El Paso, Texas for a while. And I continued to drink. I had a wonderful time. Then I met my first husband at a red light. I was drunk. Now, he is not an alcoholic. He's a really good guy. And I was not driving, but I was with a girl who was drunk driving. So it doesn't make any sense, But anyway, we're at a red light. Ended up meeting him, and we started dating, and 2 years later we got married. We were together for 10 years. I have 2 boys, and he's a great guy. He's the type of guy, he didn't know I was an alcoholic, and I didn't know I was. I just knew I liked to drink, and I drank more than him, and he became my enabler. He cleaned me up. He just constantly cleaned. We'd get in fights. I would smash stuff. I would break windows. He'd take me to a wedding. We'd have a good time. I'd be all dressed up, excited about this wedding. I'd have 1 or 2. He'd say, you're only going to have a couple, right? Yeah, right, just a couple. I don't know how to have a couple. I had more, then I had more. I couldn't leave the bar. Then I'm on the dance floor falling down. Then maybe my cousin talked to him, and I got all jealous. You're having an affair on me. I knew it. I knew you were sleeping with Barbie. Just insane stuff. And we'd get into a big fight because he was talking to my cousin. I would go absolutely berserk when I was drinking. And he would just clean up my mess all the time. So we had 2 children, and he never knew. He worked and I didn't. I was raising the kids, and he never knew when he came home what he was going to come home to. I'm a Sybil drinker. I'll either be real happy, I'll be real flirty, I'll be real angry, or I'll be burning food, or I'll be complaining about something. And we were married in a Catholic church, and he was an altar boy for years and years. And I was born and raised Catholic. So I had, how we have these great ideas when we're drinking? And I'm drinking, home all day drinking, the kids are little. He comes home from work and I'm all drunk. And I said, well, I made a decision. I love when we do that. I had this great idea. We're going to quit the Catholic Church and we are going to join a Methodist church. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, they play softball and they make ice cream. I wanted to, and you know what? He did it. Anything I wanted, he did. He did whatever, appeased me. And so we did that for like 5 years. And then another time he came home from work and I'm drunk. And I said, we're quitting the Methodist church. And he started liking it then. And he said, why? I said, well, there's this Assemblies of God. And they play tambourines. And I want to learn how to play the tambourine. He said, what's an Assembly of God? I said, I don't know, but I want to learn how to play the tambourine. Just insane stuff like that. And I was always searching for God, searching for something. And through the years of our marriage, it was a little bit on the rocks, but what we tried to keep together was material stuff. Like, well, let's buy a home, this will fix the marriage. Let's get a camper, maybe that'll fix the marriage. Let's have a pool, or let's go on vacation. That'll fix the marriage. And I did that my whole life. I'll buy something, or I'll get a new haircut. Well, this will make a new me. The new. But really what I needed to do was clean the inside out. Stop drinking and let God in. And I didn't know that. And for years, I just struggled with trying to change myself by buying stuff or being in a relationship or getting divorced. And that marriage didn't last. I ended up getting divorced. I was in my 30s, and I became a bartender. I thought, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. 10 bar, and it's perfect. He lived 3 blocks from me, so he would watch the kids when I was tending bar. We took turns with the kids and everything. And I'll tell you what, I had a lot of fun. I had fun bartending. It was the nightlife. I drank. I did what I wanted. And like I said, I was really wild. I didn't have a lot of friends because I'm a big mouth. So as being a bartender, somebody would come in, I'd say, hey, have a shot on me, right? I'm ripping the bar off. Just giving them a free drink. Tell me your problems. So you tell me all your problems. As soon as you go to the bathroom, you walk in, guess what? You're never going to believe it. And I would tell everything that she told me. So I was a very big mouth gossiping person, and I was like that. And I didn't know that was a character defect of mine. And it became extremely glaring being a bartender. And I would black out, I'd pass out, I drove drunk a lot, just didn't get caught. And, I did a lot of stuff. I don't want to do a 5th step, but I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of, and things I can't even remember. So as time went by, and I'm missing my kids' games, I'm still trying to be a good mom, I'm doing the best I can, but now my brothers are in the bars, and they are seeing and hearing stuff about their sister. So all of a sudden I get a phone call from my dad. He said, we're having a meeting at the house, you need to come. And I'm thinking, it's a big Polish family. It's sort of like a business meeting. I'm used to business meetings. The family gets together around the table, and not only the family, Uncle Joe, Aunt Lori, Cousin Ronnie, everybody's there, right? And we talk about whatever's going on, and then we all try to make a decision, and we have a solution for that problem. Well, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder who's in trouble. I can't wait to go. I wonder what one of my brothers did. I'm going to find out the news. So I ended up going, and all of a sudden we're sitting at the table, and all this stuff that's being said is about me. And it's really embarrassing. Some of it is on my 5th step. So it's pretty bad. And I was in shock, and I couldn't believe it. Some of it I knew was true, and I couldn't believe that anybody knew about it. Because when you do something at a bar, you thought, well, I'll hide out for a month. I'll go to another bar and they'll forget about it. People really don't forget stuff, So, and then you're talked about and everything. So I was really, I was ashamed, embarrassed. I cried. Now, my mother being the enabler, her focus was on getting me help and that the kids would not be taken from me. That's how bad it was getting. I didn't see it like that. I was having a good time, but they saw all this stuff. So my mom said, well, here, I found out about Alcoholics Anonymous. She had a pamphlet. It meets at this church. Your Aunt Lori's going to take you, and you're going to go to AA. I had no idea what AA was. I remember my dad pulled me in the dining room, and he said, Pamela, go to this AA meeting and learn to drink like a lady. I never got along with my dad, but I thought, that's a good idea. I thought it was like a class. I thought they teach you how to drink so you don't get in trouble. So me and my aunt went, and the neat thing was, it's so exciting to see old-timers like Wallace has a lot of sobriety, and he's here at his home group. Somebody who keeps showing up and showing up and showing up. That means a lot. Well, I didn't know what an old-timer was, but I went into this meeting and I met Rachel from New York, Jersey Joe, and John Kay. And they had like 25 years, 18 years, 19 years sobriety. And I thought, oh my God, it's a long time to be in this class. What's wrong with these people? Well, at that time, I looked not like I do now. I really cleaned up through the years. But at that time, I had long, stringy blonde hair. I had a short skirt, right? I wore super short skirts, 4-inch heels, too much makeup, too much jewelry, too much me. I was just, blah. And I walked in and she said to me, Blondie, if you don't take the first drink, you won't get drunk. And I thought, no wonder she's here for 18 years. Who gets drunk off the first drink? This lady doesn't know how to drink. So anyway, she told me to buy a big book and a 12 and 12, and I did. And I didn't understand it. It was such a foreign concept. I didn't understand anything, you know. And everybody was friendly, just like here. Everybody greeted me and welcomed me, and I feel real welcome being here. And the atmosphere is so joyous and pleasant. And that's how it was there. And it was comfortable, but it was foreign. And I didn't understand what the 12 steps were. I didn't understand anything. The fourth meeting I went to was on one day at a time, on the slogans. They had a slogan meeting. Now, I could not understand one day at a time. I would go to a fortune teller to find out my fortune. I'd have my cards read, you know, am I ever getting married again? Will I find my doctor? Am I going to Paris? Where will I meet him? You know, and I'm a planner. And I had my tea leaves read, stuff like that. And I never looked at my past because I was too ashamed or I didn't remember it because I was a blackout drinker. So staying in the day, I never heard of it. And they're going around talking about one day at a time, staying in the day, and it actually made me mad. You know, we don't understand something, fear will set in, and you know, usually we'll run away from it, or I became angry. And I thought, this is ridiculous. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them one day at a time, staying in a day. I'm quitting. And I said to my aunt, let's get out of here. And she said, oh, I wish I was an alcoholic. It's so nice. I really like it. I said, no, come on, let's go. We ended up, I had to have a solution in order to sit down with the family. So I figured it out. I made a list. I wrote it down on a paper. And I made a list. I'll quit bartending. That'll be positive. I'll quit drinking. That'll be positive. I will get a real job. I will go back to church because I wasn't going to church. And I'll start working out, exercising, and eating right. So I had this whole list and all these ideas that I was going to do that. So I presented them to the family, and everybody's like, that sounds great. And I believed it. With everything in me, I believed I could do that. 8 days later, I was drunk. 2 years later, my life spiraled out of control. I mean, it went, I was in the bars more not being a bartender than ever. My alcoholism progressed like crazy. I needed to drink more. I drank more in the daytime. I never thought I was a daily drinker, but I needed to drink more and more. I always made a commitment of not drinking on a Wednesday when I had the kids or a weekend when I had the kids. I'd only drink when I didn't have them. Well, being an alcoholic and the alcohol progressing, it didn't matter. I had to drink. And I'm going to give you one little snapshot of how bad my life spiraled out of control. And it took me a long time to say this from the podium because I was always embarrassed. And one day I was speaking at the Willow Springs group, and it came out of my mouth. You know, they prayed me up just like you guys did, and thank you so much for that prayer. And what happens was God moved me out of the way, and it just came out, and it helped people. And ever since then, I always want to include it in my story because I think it's really powerful. I'm ashamed of it, but this is what alcohol did to me. I love my children. I always wanted to be a good mom. I tried the best I could, but I loved drinking more. And I didn't know it would come before my kids. I never believed that it would. Well, what happened was a Wednesday night, I'm drinking. Of course, I'm drinking. I have the kids. I put them to bed about 8:30, 5 and 7 years old, my two little boys. I keep drinking. I run out of alcohol. I need to drink more. I have to have more. So I looked in their rooms. They were sound asleep. And I thought, well, I'll just walk down. I lived 1 block away from the bar. I'll just walk to the bar. I'll get 1 6-pack and I'll come right home. Well, that didn't happen. I go to the bar, you know, you open the door, the jukebox is playing. Yay, Pam, how's it going? I got a scoop. Oh, yeah, I want to hear the news. Come on, I'll buy you a shot. Oh, have a beer with me. Have another shot. Have another beer. And I have no idea what happened. I was drunk in the bar. My 7-year-old woke up in the middle of the night. and he couldn't find me. I could have been on 2020, you know. I mean, this happens, this is real. Well, what he did was, the sad part is he knew where Mommy was. In his little feet pajamas, he walked to the bar, and he got me. And that's really sad. A little 7-year-old gets in, and I'm drunk, I'm passed out at the bar. He's pulling on my arm. He woke me up. And he's crying, Mommy, Mommy, come home. And what did I do? I yelled at him. And I said, how dare you embarrass me in front of my friends? Because that was my life. My life was the bars. All my friends were in the bar. And there's my little son crying. Got home, I gave him a licking when he got home. He got a spanking. That was not my bottom. I would love to say that was my bottom, but it wasn't. I continued to drink, did other stuff, you know, I mean, only drinking, but, you know, just other things that caused chaos and confusion. Couldn't keep a relationship, lost a lot of friends. My family didn't want me around. There was a party, here comes Pam. Well, got to get a babysitter because Pam's coming. Didn't know how I was going to act, if I was going to get out of control, what kind of mood I was going to be in, how much I was going to drink. It just got really bad. And my bottom for me was I woke up one day and I looked in the mirror and I started to cry. And I thought, who are you? What happened to you? I didn't have God in my life anymore. My family didn't want me around, and they're wild. I got a wild, crazy, drinking family, and they didn't want me around. That's how bad I became. I couldn't have a man in my life because I couldn't keep a man. If he didn't do what I wanted, he was gone. I didn't have any friends because nobody could tell me anything because I had the biggest mouth. You know, I was a gossiper. I was a big mouth. I was materialistic. I mean, I had all these character defects, and I didn't even realize it. I wasn't a nice person. My neighbors didn't like me. They were always calling the cops on me. You know, I couldn't keep a job. I never had paid vacation. Well, I never stayed anywhere for a year. You got to work a year somewhere to have paid vacation. I never had it. So, I mean, and I was a terrible mother. The kids wanted to stay with their dad all the time. And I remember looking in the mirror and I remember crying. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, those books that Rachel told me to buy, I pulled out the 12 and 12 and I read step 1. I'd love to say I understood it, but I didn't. But there was enough power in that reading at that moment that it brought me to AA. I didn't call my family. I just went to a meeting. And the neatest thing was when I walked through those doors 2 years later, Jersey Joe was there, Rachel was there, John Kay. That meant everything to me. I'm scared to death. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't really understand it. But I walked through a door, and those old timers were still there, meant the world to me. It really did. It just made me feel safe. Even if they didn't remember me, I remembered them, and that gave me comfort. They told me to get a sponsor. I said, okay, but don't tell me what to do. I'll get a sponsor. I want to quit drinking, but don't tell me what to do. Isn't that crazy? I mean, this is what I did. And this was 1996, and that is not my sobriety date, but that's when I went back to AA. And she was really nice. She said, look, I'll take you through the steps. I will help you. I want you to call me. I will sponsor you. And she told me 3 suggestions. She said, don't get in a relationship. Since you're not in one now, don't get into a relationship. Now, the principle behind that, and I didn't realize it at that time, was because it would take the focus off my sobriety. And I didn't know that. All I could think of, wait, what do you mean? No sex for a year? I don't think so. You got to be out of your mind. That's all I'm thinking, right? I mean, crazy, right? But really, there was a principle behind it. She said, don't quit your job because you have a good job. It's paying bills. Don't make a major change. And don't move for the first year. And I will help you. I thought, okay, right. Well, I never called her. I didn't listen. And what I did was, I didn't even have a home group. I had a sponsor in name only, and I would play Alcoholics Anonymous just like I did the bars. I'd go to this bar if it was a good band. I'd go to that bar if it was a DJ or something happening here. I did the same thing in AA. I went to this meeting because there were good-looking guys there. I went to that meeting. Or if I knew there was a tradition meeting, I hated the traditions. I'd show up 5 minutes before the meeting started. I'd be outside smoking my cigarette. I used to smoke back then. And I'd say, what's this meeting going to be on? Somebody would say traditions. Ugh, I'm out of here. Like I'm so cool, you know, and went to another meeting. Come to find out later on, I was afraid because I didn't understand the traditions, that fear set in, and that ran me off. And that's what fear will either keep you or move you in a wrong direction. So you really have to walk through fear, and I learned that later on. But anyway, I ended up in this meeting in Cunningham. I'll never forget it. And I walked in, and there's this guy chairing the meeting. He had the key to the church, and it was like, oh my God, he must be the CEO of AA. I gotta have him. That's all I could think of. He didn't have a sponsor. He didn't work any steps. It doesn't matter if you're chairing a meeting or, if you have a key to the church. But anyway, I didn't even have a year sober. I ended up calling my sponsor, and I said, I quit my job. I got married, and I'm moving to North Carolina. She said, good luck. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I knew him 4 months. How do you know somebody 4 months? I'm on my best behavior the first 6 months, because I want you to like me. The real Pam doesn't come out till a little later. You know how we are. We try to be on our best behavior. Well, I married this man. This was insanity. I didn't work any steps. I wasn't drinking. I didn't drink, but I was absolutely crazy. I was still bossy, possessive, jealous, materialistic. I mean, I pull out my character defects. I was all of that, but without a drink. I was absolutely crazy. We ended up moving to Goldsboro, North Carolina. We lived there for a year, and I did the same thing. I found a home group. I got a sponsor, but I did what I wanted to. I didn't work any steps. I didn't call her. I mean, I just hung around AA. People are saying, I'm one that's against this saying, and only because of my own experience. They say meeting makers make it. That was not my case. I needed more than a meeting. The only thing that changed me was a home group that I became responsible, reliable, and joined and became part of. A sponsor that I actually called, actually walked through the steps with, actually did things with her, and the 12 steps that I didn't just read or say, yay, they're the steps, but I actually practiced them in my life. They're the things that changed me, and my relationship with God through that changed, and I became the new woman. Well, the way I was doing it was doing whatever I want, going to a meeting when I felt like it, not drinking, screaming and yelling at him. All of a sudden, he comes home one day. I'm a part-time dog groomer at the time. We ended up in Wilson. And he told me he was an entrepreneur. And I thought, oh, that's exciting, right? He sells stuff on eBay and sells stuff at flea markets. My dad did not like him. But anyway, I'll tell you what, I knew nothing about the man. So I come home one day, and he told me, I come home from dog grooming, and he makes an announcement. Now I know how my first husband felt. Remember how he'd come home and never knew what the announcement was? Well, I come home from work, and I hear an announcement from my second husband, and he says, I decided I'm not really an alcoholic, and I'm going to quit. I'm going to start drinking again. And I said, well, I met you in AA. I thought you were an alcoholic. He said, no, I was actually a drug dealer. I married a drug dealer. I didn't even do drugs, and I married a dealer. Oh my! See, you got to watch. So I said, okay, well, and I'm not going to take his inventory or do anything. But anyway, things spiraled out of control. It got so bad the kids left. He's drinking every day. I'm still not drinking, but I'm insane. I come home from work another day. Half my living room furniture is gone. In the middle of the living room is a pool table. He's drunk 2 o'clock in the afternoon, playing 80s music or blasting music, drunk, and I'm screaming, where's my furniture? And it had a big light with the Budweiser horses, the big lights, and this huge pool table that you put quarters in, that you actually put money in, all right? He's drunk, I'm screaming, where's all my furniture? What did you do? He looked at me and said, oh, babe, didn't I tell you? I'm a pool shark. I'm like, who are you? Who did I marry? It was scary. So anyway, that marriage was little by little spiraling out of control. I ended up in Walmart parking lot. Oh, wait, no, before that, I was at a place where, in Alcoholics Anonymous, this is my experience, even today, I don't care if I have 19 years. I still have to do what I'm doing. I still have to move forward. I had to show up today, so I hope tonight I can leave a new woman. I have to continually grow, help others, do the next right thing, be part of God's plan for me, is to be an Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, I was doing nothing, so you can't stay still long. And I'm either going to move forward or I'm going to move backward. Well, I ended up drinking because it wasn't working for me. I wasn't doing anything, so of course I'm not going to change. So I ended up drinking. Well, after 4 years, you end up exactly where you were. I thought it would be like starting all over again. It would be a lot of fun. No. I blacked out. I passed out. I threw up for 3 days. I was sick. I hated it. And then he's looking over me at the bed. He's there, oh, you're an alcoholic. You can't drink. Then I was angry. I'm jealous that he's drinking. I'm mad that I'm an alcoholic. I don't want to be an alcoholic. What am I going to do? I don't know what to do. My kids are back in PA. My family's gone. Nobody's around me but this controlling man that I married that I don't even know. I go to work every day. I'm a dog groomer. I talk to dogs. I mean, I have no friends because he doesn't let me, right? But I put myself in that position and go on and on about that. But anyway, I ended up in Walmart parking lot and I was crying. And I said that little prayer that people talk about. And I just said, help me, God. I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, and I know it wasn't me because I never would have this idea or thought, the thought was Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought, ugh, that doesn't work. And I heard it stronger, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought, okay. So I ended up going to the principals group of Wilson at that time. That was my home group. And I saw Sandy, and I met Sandy, and I walked in. Now, I knew what an old-timer was by then. And I had 4 years of nothing, right? But still, I'm a big shot, self-centered person, materialistic, right? All my character defects. And this 4 years will make me popular. I don't want to walk through the door and pick up a white chip because I want to be popular. I'm Pam. I have 4 years. How are you? Oh, I'm Pam. 4 years. How you doing? That's how I want to come back, right? And I thought, I only drank that one time. It doesn't count. Who cares? Nobody knows. No, who's going to tell? He doesn't even remember. He's drunk, right? He's not going to AA. I could get away with it. Well, the neatest thing is this is how God works. This has been my experience. God takes you as you are. He really does. And he took me with my lie. It was okay. I mean, I lied for 10 months. But in that 10 months, let me tell you what happened. I got a woman in my life who started walking me through the steps. She said, you're going to join this home group. It meets, at that time it was Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. And plus we had a double meeting on Friday because we had a beginner's meeting then, an 8 o'clock meeting. And I was like, well, that's the whole weekend, Friday and Saturday. Can't we compromise, do every other Friday, every other Saturday? She said, no. If you want me to sponsor you, you have to do what I do. You have to join the home group. If you want to join this home group, you have to be responsible and be part of it. That means you got to show up when the door's open and not 5 of. I want you there 30 minutes before. I'm like, oh my God, that's a long time, 30 minutes before. And she said, and 30 minutes after. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of time, right? And she said, when you walk through the door, I want you to give your phone number out to every new woman that walks through that door, and I want you to stay away from the men. And I thought, you know what, I was willing to do something different. I really was. It was, I'm not going to say it was easy, it was hard, but I started doing it. I started to do it. I became part of that home group. I'm working the steps with her. I'm speaking at meetings. I became secretary of that group. Now, I'm still married to this man. He's drunk. Every night I go home to this drunk. But I keep doing what she tells me to do. I keep doing what she tells me to do. And my life starts to change little by little by little. It really does. I mean, it's amazing. Then I ended up having to speak in Raleigh. I'll never forget this. And this girl, Sarah, a lot of you know her, Sarah. She picked me up. She had her dad's van. And she picked a whole bunch of guys from the halfway house up. And I was the speaker. And she said, I'll pick you up and take you to the meeting. Well, I saw the van filled with guys, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if Jim finds out, I'm in big trouble. And he's drunk, he didn't see anything. So I said, Sarah, look, do me a favor. And that's my husband, right? If he asks, just say it was a van filled with women, so I don't get in any trouble. She looked at me, she said, I will not. I'm not lying. I said, well, this is a good lie. This is a lie to keep me out of trouble. Not going to cause any problems. She said, you need to talk to your sponsor. Well, I had such a resentment. How dare her? I'm the speaker. I've got a resentment. I asked somebody to lie for me. I am so mad on the way to speak. Never get behind the podium when you're angry. I was full of me. No matter how many times they prayed me up, it didn't matter. Me, how dare her, I'm in trouble, blah, blah. It was the worst talk I ever gave. Well, at the end of that meeting, I ran up to my sponsor, and I'm there, Sarah wouldn't lie, blah, blah, blah. If he finds out, I'm in big trouble. She looked at me, and she said, Pam, this was so powerful to me. My life changed as a result of what she said. Then I had to take the right action. But she said to me, Pam, if you want God to dwell in you, then you have to become honest. And when the person read how it works, just that one paragraph, 3 times it talks about honesty. So I went home that night, and that really bothered me. And I thought, okay, I've got to get honest with him, and I did, and I lived through it. It was like an 8-hour fight. It was pretty bad, but I survived. Then I went to bed, and all of a sudden, it was almost like a volcano in my stomach coming up. And it was like, well, what about the lie about drinking? Oh, wait a minute, I don't care about that lie. I don't want to tell that. Come up again. To me, it's the Spirit of God. Like that little nudge. Pam, what about you drank? Get honest. Pick up a white chip. Here comes fear. What will my home group think about me? They like me. I'm popular now, right? I have a key to the church. They might take it off of me. I'm the secretary. They might throw me out. I'm afraid. Sandy might fire me. I'm afraid. I don't think I could do this. I was so scared. But I couldn't sleep. I wrestled and I wrestled. And then I called her up. I said, I got to talk to you. I'm going to come to your house face to face. We sat down, and I told her the truth. Well, she was so excited. She grabbed the big book. She said, I'm so excited for you. When God opens one door, he closes a door, he'll open a window even, whatever it takes. But anyway, so she opened the book up, and she said about cleaning up your side of the street. And she read that to me, and I said, well, I don't know what that means. She said, well, step 9. I said, yes, I'm not there. Why? She said, yes. What you're going to do, let's get a pen and paper, and let's write down everywhere you spoke. And I spoke at 5 groups. And she said, we, not just me, we. She said, we're going to go to each group, and you're going to make a 9th step amend. And I said, wait a minute, I thought step 9 is one-on-one. My first experience with the 9th step was me and 5 groups. I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I could do this. I was petrified. And I said, Sandy, the same people aren't going to be there anyway. It doesn't make any sense. And she said, it doesn't matter. You're going to go to that group, and you're going to let them know that you lied behind the podium, and you need to make an amend. So, of course, I did my home group, and she went with me, and I did. And I'll tell you what, it was the hardest thing I ever did. I was so scared. It was comforting that she was with me. I didn't do it alone. But it was a breaking point because I got honest, not only with myself, but with others, and my life started to change as a result of that. To me, that was a whole breaking point. Little by little, my life had to change. He continued to drink, and they say, when you're on that spiritual path, and this is my experience, it gets more narrow and more narrow, That means I got to do the right thing no matter how I feel. That wide path is easy. If I feel like going to a meeting, I'll go. If I want to lie, I'll lie. I'll be there, don't show up. Who cares? They won't remember. That's the wide path. I lived that path for a long time. It was all about me. The narrow path is, if I said I'm going to be here, I better show up. If I told you I was going to do something, I better do it. I want to be a woman of my word. I want you to think that I'm a woman of my word too, so I want to do the next right thing. Simple things for me was the cart at Walmart. Put it back. Don't just leave it in the parking lot. Put your cart back after you put the groceries in your car. Little things like that. If you see trash on the floor, pick it up. Don't steal the Post-its from work. I'm like, what? They owe me those Post-its. No, you're stealing. I mean, it's just little things like that is how it started for me. And those little things, when you start doing those little things, then it gets a little easier to do the next right thing, a little easier to do the next right thing. And little by little, year by year, we change and we continue to change. So what happened with that marriage was fear. It's always fear with me, and materialism, and I'm afraid, you're going to take what I have or I won't get what I deserve. That's me, right? I didn't want to leave him because he paid my child support. My kids are in Pennsylvania. He's paying the child support. He pays payment on my Camry to drive, right? That nice car. He has credit cards when Pam goes shopping, right? He pays them. So that kept me with him. I allowed that. I had a part-time job. I allowed him. That's why I love the seventh tradition. We're self-supportive. You give somebody else a right to that, they have control over you, and I allowed that. And then my fear was leaving. What will become of me? I'll end up in jail. They'll take my car. I won't be able to pay child support. Who's going to hire me? I'm a part-time dog groomer, and I was a bartender. I didn't go to college. I think I was 40 years old then. I'm thinking, I'm old. 40. What am I going to do? And my sponsor said to me, well, I can't tell you what to do, but you just need to do the next right thing. You know what to do, but you just need to do it, and you've got to trust God. Trust the process that it works. So I made a decision, and we did the third step prayer. I'll never forget, my hands and knees with her, and we did it again, and it was a third step prayer over this situation. And I was going to put it in God's hands, and I made a decision to leave him, and it was really hard. But here's how God works. 5 days later, it was like everything fell into place. People, the lady that I worked with, her husband said, well, you could use the U-Haul to move. People in AA let me move in with them. I had 5 Maltese dogs at the time because I was going to be a dog breeder. You can't take 5 dogs somewhere, right? So my mom came down. She took the dogs. She kept them for 2 years. My brothers came with her and helped me move. I mean, everything just fell into place. I thought, I lived with people in AA for 4 months. I mean, you can't live with somebody forever. And I stayed with them for 4 months, and I thought, well, I don't know how I'll get a full-time job. I can't make a living, $7 an hour for 20 hours a week and be able to pay child support. Well, she said, Pam, it's time to get a job. I said, well, I don't know how. When I was a bartender, I walked in a bar and they hired me. Hey, you want a job? Okay. I don't know how to do a resume. I'm afraid. All the 20-year-olds will get the job. I'm 40. She said, well, you got to trust the process. Do a resume. What's a resume? I didn't even know how to fill out an application, let alone a resume. She helped me. And here's what happened. And I only have a little bit of time. And this is not to brag, but this is to tell you the power that's in Alcoholics Anonymous, the power that your life can change. I ended up getting a job where I'm at now. 15 years I'm there. That's a miracle. I get 3 weeks paid vacation. It's great. I get great benefits. It's amazing. I'm somewhere 15 years. I couldn't be anywhere for 1 year. I own my own home today. The bank does, right? But I'm paying my own mortgage. I'm paying my own car payment. I sponsor women. Women want what I have today. I'm an active member of my home group. I'm involved in Alcoholics Anonymous. AA has changed my life. I don't want to step away from this power. If I step away from this power, I'm going to become the self-centered, materialistic Pam that only thinks about Pam, and then I'll end up drinking again. So I've got to stay connected to the power. The power is in the fellowship. The power is in my sponsor. And God is my power. And I met him, no matter how many churches I went to or whatever I tried to do in church, which I don't have anything against church, but I met God through the steps. And I hear God in the fellowship. When I hear somebody speaking from the podium, I can hear God. When I hear somebody at one of our big book studies, I hear sometimes a newcomer, I can hear God through them. And I just keep doing what I'm doing. And life is really good. And I'm afraid to step away from this power because I want to keep growing, I want to keep change, and I want to be on this journey. I like to look at it as a journey, not a class, not do the 12 steps and you're done, but a journey, a lifelong journey. And thank you, that's all I have, and thank you for having me tonight.